Hi, Buki and Shegun.
Good morning.
Good
Hello,
morning.
Bonjour.
It's so lovely to have you both here again.
It's good to see you as
It's
well.
good to see you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you and commend you for, our previous 2 episodes. Over these 2 episodes, we had discussed the pain of, the weight because of infertility. We have spoken about the process through the storms that infertility was. And now, in this episode, the third and final episode, which we would wrap up with, we're trying to look at the progress that has, culminated from all of these efforts from this 15-year journey. And so I'm hopeful that our viewers, of course, who have followed us, listened to our stories, have been looking forward to this. How did they feel? What did they, and all of that. And so today we're here to answer those questions. How are you guys feeling today?
Oh, good,
Good.
All right.
How about you?
I'm very well, thank you. So we'll just jump right in to the conversation. And, my first question today is that can you describe the moment you learned that you were going to have a child? How did you feel? What emotions came in? What exactly was going through your mind?
Do you want me to go
Yeah,
first?
just
All
go
right.
ahead.
I would say, maybe until the 24th, 25th weeks, that was the first time it actually dawned on me that this baby is here, is almost here. Because I was already scheduled for a C-section for 37 weeks. So I was counting down, 1 week down, 1 week down, another week down, and I realized that I didn't even have any baby item in the house, maybe except the ones that were previously gifted to me years ago. And then my friend from Canada called me and said, "What do you need?" That she wants to send me some items. I told her, "Anything you want to send." She was like, "What do you mean by anything? Don't you have a list?" I said, "I don't have anything that I'm yet to buy anything." She said, "Am I afraid? Do I think something else, something bad is going to happen?" I said, no, but I just don't want to be in a hurry. She said, "What kind of hurry is that? That you need to hurry up. It's almost there before you get so tired that you can't go out and buy things and all of that." And then she sent me a lot of things. And I think when I received those items, it's just awakened something in me that, okay, this is it. And he really pushed me and encouraged me to also get out of the house and get things for the baby. And then we made a list, and going around shopping online in store was so exciting that that was the moment for me that told me that, yeah, the baby is here. And we kept buying things, but at the same time I was keeping all my receipts. I'm like, "Shegun, no tag, don't remove the tags, just let it be." Because in my mind I'm saying, okay, in case maybe if something goes wrong, at least I can get back all the things that we bought, we can get back our money. But thank God, we kept buying and buying, and the baby came. So I think the moment for me was when we started buying things for the baby.
Thank you, Bonjour, for that question. So I had a couple of moments. I'm going to try and summarize as briefly as possible. The first was during the embryo transfer. Typically, the embryo is taken up from the disc via a very thin tube and is passed down into the woman's uterus. But that is usually sort of screened on. You can see it. We can see the real live demonstration on the scan. So at the point where the supervising consultant that did that, at the point where the transfer took place, they look at for what you're going to see on the screen. You're going to see a shooting star. The moment you mention a shooting star, that's just synced my spirit. This child is going to be a shooting star. That was the first time that I had that, feeling that there's something about this child. Fast forward now to 22 weeks. About 22 weeks, the only time that we had that incident in this pregnancy was around 22 weeks. Makola had his abdominal, pain, and we had to go to the emergency. And I'm trying to summarize now. After the initial examination and all that, the nurses came and said, "Okay, it looks as if she's in premature labor." That was at 22 weeks, But between the period where the nurses examined and they went to get a doctor to do the V and all of that to check for, if the os was open, all those things, Bukola and I spoke to the baby.
Mm.
We called his name. We told him that we are also eager to meet you.
Mm.
But however, please do
Not
this
just
for
yet.
us. Wait.
Yeah.
Here, mommy and daddy is still going to have to wait for some time. So that by the time you come out, you'll be more mature. Do you know he heard us? Because in real time, we were watching the tachograph and we saw as uterine contractions gradually dropped as we spoke to him. Like, this boy hears us. By the time nurse came back, we're like, what happened? Everything I just checked like 15 minutes ago, everything has changed. We're like, well, so if not because everything had already been ordered, everything at that point in time, our advisors were okay. She was just, but they still went ahead and did all this and just to confirm, okay, she's fine, she can go home. Last but not the least, after all the battery of tests that were done, with the genetic screening, all of those things, last screening was the cardiac screening, and it took more than an hour. After that screening, it was as if they were intent and bent on seeing something wrong, But after all the consultations and everything, by the time the cardiologist came and told us that there was nothing to be seen, we had a clean bill of health. Those were the moments for me that I just knew this child, by God's grace, is here to stay. Thank you.
Indeed, here to stay. And well, clearly we have the bundle of joy here with us. And so, that leads me to my next question. That what changed in your identity and in your faith after becoming parents?
Okay, for the identity issue, I would say what changed for me was when we named our son, and people started calling me Mommy Jessie, even my friends, and sometimes I wouldn't even respond to that because okay, oh, it's me. And I could remember telling a couple of people that if it's a joke, just call me Bookie. I'm used to being called that. So I think that was for me a change of identity. People calling me Mommy Jessie, and also for faith. Huh, I would just say that the Bible passage that comes to my mind is nothing is impossible with God. All things are possible, and it tells me that no matter what I'm going through, no matter what I'm looking forward to, God will do it in His time. He makes everything beautiful in His time. So that's how I'm going to summarize that.
Thank you very much.
So for identity, I think my wife also, I share what my wife said regarding after being called an auntie and uncle for so long, and we waited to be called a dad or a man or mom. And eventually that moment came. But much more than that is the fact that the other identity for me that I also sort of identify with is the identity of being a father. And I take that from the scriptural aspect of God being our Father, and the feeling and the care that we get when we realize the love that we have from the Father. It's I felt that for the very first time when I had the opportunity, to have a skin to skin bonding with my child. And it was a bit uncomfortable. It has been a bit, um, fuzzy and all that. But the moment I brought him close to my chest and you had that skin contact, I could feel, it felt comfortable. It felt at peace. It felt secure, so to speak. So for me, that identity at that point in time occurred to me that this is what it takes to be a father. The ability to be able to protect, to be able to nurture, to be able to, to be there, and that's stuck with me. That indeed your identity has changed right now. You're not a father. I know it takes much more than just donating a sperm to be a father, right? And I'm hoping that this journey of fatherhood that we just started, and motherhood, that God will give us the grace to be able to navigate it as it were, and to fulfill God's purpose with that. Then for the faith aspect, what stood out for me is the ability and the tenacity that God has developed in us as we waited upon Him. so many things that we didn't know that we're capable of. The depth of our resilience, the depth of the elasticity of the pains that we could, and especially coming to talking about Bukola. So all of these things had worked together to make us a different person. Honestly speaking, there are times that when God wants to take you through to a place, He prepares you for that place. Because if He gives you that gift before then, it may not be ready. And I'm just talking about the Bible. There's a time God said, I want to take you to a Canaan land, but there's a shortcut, but I won't let you take it that way. I want you to go through. Why? Because there needs to be something that will develop in you for you to be ready for the place that God is taking you. So we believe that for us, God used these 15 years to develop us to be able to be ready to take care of, to be ready to handle this gift in just living that is going to give unto us. So that is what I believe has changed with our faith.
And identity.
Identity.
Well, clearly, thank you so much. I think that one of the major things that would usually stand out is that you got a name change, as in, and so like you said, your identities changed from being uncles and aunties to being parents of your own very handsome son. And while I say that, I would of course want to talk about the process of this book. There were two major things that were birthed. There was the birth of your very handsome son, but there was also the birth of this book that I'm holding in my hands, written by the father, Segun Adeyemi, about their experience, their combined experience. The book is titled Navigating the Way by Faith and Science, Our Journey to Parenthood, available on Amazon. And in this, amazing book, I do say so myself, Segun poured, years of, the years of the wait, the experience while they waited. And even prior to the wait, he talked about, his experience in medical school, of course, how he met his beautiful wife, their love story over the years, and the difficulties, the challenges, the storms that, they went through. And I tell you, it's, how they say it's one for the books. This is one of those books that even I would recommend unreservedly. And so I want, you to let our viewers know what inspired you to write the book. Because again, a lot of people go through difficulties, they go through challenging times, but people never hear what their story is or their stories are. So why did you write this book?
Thank you for that question, Bonju. So, in the course of our wait, one of the things that I started doing very early was at the moment when we achieved conceptions, which was almost never for the first 4 3 5 years. So the first one, which was the fifth one, was a big deal to us. So I started keeping a journal, just to be able to chronicle the things that was happening. And from at that point in time, my motive was just by the time it was for the baby, and when he or she was old enough, I could share some of these stories with him or her, the bioscans, how you kicked, all those things. So, but as events would have it, and those pregnancies didn't take, they didn't last long. First one, second one. And I told myself, was heartbreaking. When I went back to read those stories, I was already getting emotionally attached to them and all of that. But however, I told myself I'm not going to be writing any stories again until the pregnancy meets or exceeds the last one. The last story I wrote ended at about 8 weeks before the pregnancy, fell through and all of that. So the moment just Miss pregnancy exceeded 8 weeks, 9 weeks, okay. I told myself it's time to start writing again, and all of that. But again, my initial motive was just for the baby, But along the way, as things began to, unfold and all of that, I started having these nudges from within me, which I believe was Spirit of God saying that, you need to write about your story, because what you are going through or what you went through is not just about the baby, not just about Bukola, not just about you. It's bigger than you. I was like, where is this coming from? That people need to, people don't know enough about the back end stories of what happens. Everybody just comes and just, superficially talks about these things. There's so many things that really happens, that people don't talk about openly. And But Bukola and I are quite private people,
Yeah.
and that is where I really struggled, because if you know Bukola and I, we most of the times we're private people. So, and when it comes to the issue of a baby, there's nothing that's more private to us than a baby. So
Definitely.
if this spirit is saying write about your baby or just like, oh, that's a big ask for me, you know. But I struggled with that. But when I just couldn't win, I shared the vision with Bukola, and she was supportive. Okay, let's write it. Let's see how it goes from there and all of that, you know. So at about um, at about the third trimester, one of these days, my younger sister in the UK, Damola, called me, and she, for some reason, she started talking about thought about the possibility of sharing our stories. At that point, I wasn't even sure she knew we were pregnant, you know, but she had these knowledges that, you know, that what we're going through, it's that it needs to be written as a book. Eventually, even got answers to us, because, you know, it's been encouraged. I was like, oh my god. So that's what just told me, if you need confirmation,
This is
that
it.
is
Yeah.
it. You know, that book needs to be reading, and I was like, okay, I surrender. I'm going to write. You know, and at that point in time, he also gave me. So by the time the pregnancy came and we delivered, he gave me a due date that before the baby turns 1,
Yeah.
we should that book should be ready. So it was a lot of writing, storytelling from Bukola, writing from me, you know. And by the 8th month, you know, 9 months, we were done to start publishing and everything. So officially on Amazon, it debuted on 14th of February, but we launched it, you know, on the March of 8th of March. So like when you said, this is a book, and it's on Amazon all over the world. Yeah.
From the ADMs to the worldwide. Thank you so much. I'd like to reiterate on this topic of the book. It takes a lot to write a book.
Yeah.
It takes even more to want to share, especially if you're very private people, to want to share of your deeper selves. But what I know is that there's power in storytelling, in telling your own story, because it gives hope, it gives strength, it gives resilience to another person, knowing that I'm not alone. Somebody else has walked, the journey that I have walked.
Exactly.
Sometimes it may not even be as tough as you guys, had. It may be tougher than you guys had, but somehow people are able to connect with, the story. So again, I said this earlier, I recommend this book unreservedly. Please buy, read, gift it out, and I'm sure it will be a blessing to many people. Right. The journey clearly wasn't an easy one. It was tortuous, it was long, it was turbulent, it was stormy.
Yeah.
However, sometimes when people go through storms, they develop certain skills, abilities, talents. They discover. For a lot of people, it's a moment of discovery. Would you say that it was a moment of discovery for you both? And what were you able to discover? So, what is the one thing that you were able to discover first about yourselves and then about your partner?
I never knew that I could be this patient, because IVF journey, you have to be patient. All your procedures have to be at a particular time. Sometimes you're ready for a procedure, but your body is not ready. And then they have to postpone that. So there's nothing you can do. You can't be angry at the doctors. They can't do that. So I had to just relax and, okay, cancel, that's fine.